Now what?
Now then you find out, Harry.
Let's talk about death. No, not the Grim Reaper with a scythe and a skeletal grin. Not the shadowy figure hiding in the dark. I'm talking about Death of the Endless, the compassionate, upbeat goth girl who wears an anchor round her neck and helps souls find peace. Welcome back to your Nedry show. I'm your host, Spoiler Master. In Neil Gaiman's Sandman universe, death isn't a terror to be feared. She's one of the most beloved, wise, and grounded characters. She's the second oldest of the Endless, older than Dream, and yet far more emotionally mature. And today, we are diving deep into her origins, her powers, her personality, and why she might just be the most important being in the entire multiverse.
So, what's the occasion? Not the problem.
I will tell you.
Death isn't what you think. When you imagine death, you probably picture something cold, final, unfeeling. But Death of the Endless is the opposite. She's casual. She's kind. She cracks jokes. She shows up in a tank top and black jeans. She could walk past you on the street, and you'd never suspect she was the literal embodiment of life's final moment. She looks like she's in her early 20s, pale skin, long black hair, a calm voice, and a silver ankh on her chest. And yet, she's older than time itself. Because here's the thing, death doesn't just show up when people die. She also shows up when they're born. Everyone meets her twice. Once when they enter the world, and once when they leave it. That's her job, and she takes it very seriously. The origin of Death of the Endless. Let's go way back, before the gods, before the angels, before time itself had a name. Death came into being the moment the first living thing took its first breath. That single act created the need for her existence. And from that moment on, death was there for every heartbeat, every final breath, every flicker of life in the cosmos. She didn't start out as warm and friendly. Far from it. In her earliest form, death was distant, cold and efficient. She saw her role as a burden, a responsibility she didn't ask for. At one point, she even quit. She stopped doing her job entirely, and as a result, the universe fell into chaos. Nothing died. Everything became stuck. Eventually, she returned. But she came back changed, still doing her duty, but now carrying a deep sense of purpose. And it wasn't until a dying man asked her one question, "How would you like it?" that everything really changed. That question pierced through her detachment. So she did something unthinkable. She decided to live. A day in the life. Once every 100 years, death becomes mortal for a single day. She walks the earth, eats real food, feels pain, laughs, loves, and sees the world through human eyes. That single day reconnects her with what it means to be alive, and reminds her why her job matters. It's during these days that we see death at her most vulnerable, and ironically, her most powerful. Because it's not her abilities that define her, it's her empathy. She believes that at the end, when everything else has faded, what people need isn't judgment or fear. They need a friend, a gentle hand to hold as they pass from this world into whatever comes next. Death among the Endless. The Endless are a dysfunctional cosmic family. You've got destiny, dream, despair, desire, delirium, and destruction. Each one represents a fundamental force of the universe. And in the middle of all that chaos, there's death, playing the role of the responsible big sister. She's the peacemaker, the one who keeps the others grounded. Dream may be the protagonist of the series, but even he constantly turns to death for advice. And she's not afraid to call him out when he's being dramatic. When Destruction left his post and abandoned his duties, it was Death who understood. When Dream exiled his former lover Nada to hell out of wounded pride, Death told him flat out that he was wrong. She's not interested in power plays or cosmic games. She's about balance, about duty, about kindness. Moments that show who she truly is. Death has had a lot of screen time across the Sandman series, and some of her most powerful moments are also the most human. Remember Joshua Norton? The man who declared himself Emperor of the United States in the 1800s? Dream gave him that dream to save him from despair. When Norton died, Death told him he was her favorite emperor, and she meant it. That simple, genuine moment showed how deeply she values even the smallest lives. Then there's the time she met Urania Blackwell, also known as Element Girl. Urania was miserable, unable to die because of her transformation. She begged Death to end her life. Death couldn't grant her request directly, but she gently guided her to a peaceful solution by praying to Ra, the god who gave her life. That moment wasn't about raw power. It was about listening. Death even helped Charles Rowland stay behind as a ghost to be with his friend Edwin Payne. Again, no drama, no rules, just empathy. Her relationship with Dream. The most emotionally rich dynamic in the Sandman series is between Dream and Death. Dream, also known as Morpheus, is brooding, often cold, trapped in ritual and regret. Death, by contrast, is light. She's the one person who can cut through his self-importance and remind him what actually matters. When Dream is released from his decades-long imprisonment, it's Death who meets him and tells him to stop moping. She drags him along to witness her work, and by the end of the day, Dream starts to find purpose again. When he considers giving up, she tells him to try. When he makes mistakes, she tells him to apologize. And when he dies, it's Death who takes him, gently, lovingly, like she always said she would. Their bond is unshakable. She's not just his sister, she's his anchor. Her appearance and style. Death's visual design is iconic. Black jeans, tank top, spiked bracelets, that silver ankh, and of course, the Eye of Horus beneath her right eye. She's not regal like Destiny, not terrifying like Despair. She looks like someone you could actually talk to. Neil Gaiman and artist Mike Dringenberg redefined the concept of Death by giving her this punk goth aesthetic. And it works, because she's both timeless and current. Mysterious, yet familiar. She's beautiful, yes, but not in an untouchable way. She's the embodiment of that one person who gets you, even when no one else does. Powers and abilities. Let's break it down. Death is immortal. Not just immortal, she'll be the last thing in the universe. When everything else has ended, she'll turn off the lights and lock the door behind her. She's omnipresent, everywhere at once. Every time someone dies, she's there. And every time someone is born, she's also there, breathing life into their lungs. She's virtually omniscient. She sees all the possible deaths of every being. She knew Dream wanted to die long before he did. And when the Furies, cosmic forces of vengeance, raged against him, Death was the only one who could stand in their way without fear. She can travel anywhere, across realms, dimensions, timelines. She doesn't need permission. Even gods step aside when she arrives. She can grant immortality, like she did for Hob Gadling. She can leave souls behind as ghosts. She can even be summoned by magic, as Roderick Burgess attempted to do before accidentally imprisoning Dream. She can raise the dead, create avatars, and even bring clay to life, like she did when she needed a ceremonial robe from the necropolis. And while she doesn't usually involve herself in conflicts, if she raises her voice, even the most ancient powers tremble. But more than anything, her greatest power is comfort. That strange, paradoxical comfort she brings to something as final and unknowable as death. The most human of them all. Here's what makes Death truly special. She loves humanity. She doesn't just do her job, she cares deeply. She understands people, their fears, their hopes. She doesn't mock them for fearing her, she embraces them. And she does her best to make their final moments meaningful. Unlike Destiny, who's chained to his book, or Dream, who's chained to his rules, Death is free. She doesn't follow strict codes or cosmic contracts. As Destruction once said, she can do whatever she wants. And what she chooses to do is care. Why death matters. In the Sandman, every endless represents something inevitable, but only death embraces her inevitability with grace. She's not about punishing people. She's not cruel or distant. She's the one who stays until the very end. The one who understands that even the most painful goodbye can be softened by compassion. At the end of the universe, when the last star fades, death will still be there. And when she's done, she'll say goodbye, turn off the lights, and lock the door. And that's why we love her. Our nerdy thoughts. Death of the Endless is many things. Mysterious, ancient, powerful. But most of all, she's a friend. The last friend we'll ever have. And maybe, just maybe, the one we needed all along. So, if you ever find yourself scared of the end, just remember, it's not the end. It's just the next chapter, and death will be there, calm, smiling, maybe wearing a top hat, ready to walk with you, not as a threat, but as someone who understands. If you enjoyed this breakdown of death from the Sandman universe, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know in the comments, who's your favorite Endless? And should we do Desire next? Or maybe Delirium? Until then, take a breath. You've already met her once. You'll meet her again someday. And when you do, you won't be alone.